Well, I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Monsieur Bertrand, National Chief of Congress of the Aboriginal Peoples. Elected as such in 2016, he has served as President and Grand Chief of the Native Alliance of Quebec from 2011 to 2016, and as a Member of Parliament for the riding of Pontiac-Gatineau-Labelle from 1993 to 2004. He's also served on many committees, and it is my honor and my privilege to introduce Monsieur Bertrand.
McAllister. Good morning. As mentioned, I am National Chief Robert Bertrand of the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, or as we like to call it, CAP. For 48 years, the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples have been the national voice representing the interest of status and non-status Indians living off reserve, the Métis and Southern Inuit Indigenous peoples across Canada. CAP is one of the 5 national Indigenous organizations officially recognized by the Government of Canada. We exist because government legislation stripped us of our status as Indigenous peoples, denying recognition to generations of Indigenous peoples. These policies took our status away if we completed a university degree, got married to a non-Indigenous person, joined the military, or wanted to vote in an election. These past wrongs and ongoing wrongs, such as the removal of children from their families, continue to sever many Indigenous peoples from their communities, cultures, and heritage. But CAP believes that an administrative decision cannot erase history or identity. In the words of Harry Daniels, we know who we are. The Congress of Aboriginal Peoples will continue to refute the idea that identity and heritage can ever be erased by any government policy. Policies taking away Indigenous rights do not take away the challenges faced by our people, such as discrimination, poverty, or the legacies of residential schools or the 60s scoop. Discrimination and trauma do not wait to see if a person has a status card. Our position is affirmed in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, or UNDRIP, signed by Canada in 2016. Indigenous peoples have the right to recognition of their rights, cultures, communities, identities, regardless of administrative decisions of the past or present. Our vision at CAP is that all Indigenous peoples in Canada will experience the highest quality of life founded on the rebuilding of our nations. All Indigenous citizens will rightfully be treated with respect, dignity, integrity, and equality. We have seen progress on our vision over this past year. In December of 2018, we signed a political accord with the federal government. It recognizes the Supreme Court Cap Daniels decision, which confirmed that non-status and Métis people are Indians under the Constitution of Canada, and therefore an area of federal responsibility. The accord outlines shared priorities between CAP and the Government of Canada. Areas like building capacity for self-governance, recognizing language rights, healthcare, childcare, skills training, and economic development. We have also seen the passage of Bill S3, the corresponding collaborative process, and release of the final report aimed at ending gender discrimination in the Indian Act. These changes will mean many of our members can now access programs and services that would otherwise be denied to them. Advocacy is the central part of our mission. We speak on behalf of a group often called the forgotten peoples, Indigenous people who have been excluded from status, recognition, and federal programs, making sure that we have our rightful place at the table with government is an ongoing challenge. Believe me, it's one heck of a job. There are still many programs that exclude our constituents. The Post-Secondary Student Support Program, for example, or PSSP, which helps Indigenous students to access higher education, is still not accessible. The distinction-based approach has failed to include non-status and off-reserve Indigenous peoples. Our mission is not only advocacy with the federal government, but also with partners in civil society, the private sector, and internationally. Our people should not just be sitting at the table with government. They have a place at the boardroom table as well. It is my hope that all of you gathered here today will return to your institutions and look for opportunities to engage with our people in your community. In support of our vision, we are also a service provider directly helping our constituents get access to training and education. We also support our provincial and territorial affiliate organizations, or PTOs as we like to call them, with their own service delivery work in such areas as training, housing, and employment. Employment and Social Development Canada, ESDC, provides financial support for Indigenous peoples in Canada. There are more than 600 points of service across the country, with 85 organizations contracted as funding agreement holders with ESDC through the Indigenous Skills and Employment Training Program, commonly known as ISET. CAP is an agreement holder for ISETs. We work with training providers like yourselves, helping Indigenous peoples to acquire the skills they need to find employment, to start businesses, and achieve the life goals they have set out for themselves. Our ISET work removes barriers for students accessing training and education. This could mean assistive devices for students with disabilities, living expenses, childcare, books, tuition, or any other number of factors that could prevent someone from getting the training they need. In the past few years, CAP has funded a wide range of programs with a wide range of partners. We have worked with public colleges on certification programs like our program with Assiniboine College for heavy equipment operation. We have worked with local unions on workforce skills development, like our program with Iron Workers Local 725 for the Rodbuster pre-apprenticeship program. We have worked with universities on technology and design programs, such as our collaboration with Emily Carr University of Arts and Design for virtual and augmented reality. We have worked with Indigenous training organizations such as TechnoWave on the Indigenous Personal Support Worker Program, and we have partnered with career colleges like the members of NACC, such as Willis College for the Indigenous Community Support Worker Program. Our provincial and territorial affiliates also work with their own networks of partners. I encourage everyone in this room to find the contact information for the CAP affiliate in your province, reach out to them, and look for areas of collaboration. And if you don't know where that is, just check our website. We serve a very diverse community. Our constituents live in cities, towns, rural communities, remote areas. They speak many languages. They face a range of barriers, whether social, economic, or cultural. These are the issues that you, in the career college sector, are very familiar with. Like us, you serve a diverse range of students facing diverse barriers of education. And like us, you have to be innovative, you have to be hardworking, and sensitive to the needs of the population you serve. The flexibility shown by the membership of NACC in meeting the needs of Indigenous learners is laudable. To highlight a few examples: on-site training for Indigenous learners, helping overcome barriers and increase participation; flexible learning environments, allowing students to continue to learn while participating in their culture and traditional activities; consultation with Indigenous communities, help identify where there is need; and compressed training times to help learners to get their training and access the job market as quickly as possible. The members of NACC are on the ground in the communities where our constituents live. By eliminating barriers, your members support integration into the workforce, closing gaps in employment, income, and standards of living. In the coming year, CAP will be pursuing several policy initiatives around training and education. The political accord CAP signed with the Government of Canada in 2018 highlights such priorities as working with increasing access to human resources development through Indigenous employment centers, implementation of a national early learning and childcare framework, supporting economic development in Indigenous communities to build self-sufficiency and own source funding, building essential infrastructure for off-reserve Indigenous communities, including a national housing program. These goals will require support from the federal government, but they will also require a collaboration with a growing circle of partners as well. We will need training institutions to help supply the skills for employment and economic development in our communities. The need for infrastructure means the need for trained people to build and also to maintain it. The need for housing also means the need to fill jobs in the construction sector. I would ask everyone here, how many businesses have come to you talking about a shortage in labor or skilled workers? How many businesses are facing a crisis of retiring employees with no replacements lined up? How many would like to expand but can't find the people? Canada's Indigenous peoples are the youngest, fastest growing segment of the population. Indigenous youth complete college-level career training education at a rate equal to non-Indigenous Canadians and complete trade training at a rate higher than non-Indigenous Canadians. And meanwhile, many Indigenous youth face barriers getting their first stable, permanent jobs, stereotypes, discrimination, hiring practice that disadvantages Indigenous youth, or simple failures of communications. But I say, if a business does not have an Indigenous recruitment strategy, they do not have a growth strategy. I understand that adapting an organization's recruitment strategy is not instant or automatic. That is why CAP has developed its reconciliation toolkit for business leaders. We have the resources to support organizations who want to take meaningful steps towards integrating the fastest growing demographic in Canada into their business. Beyond filling gaps in the workforce, a diverse set of perspective and experiences in a workplace means new ideas, more productivity, and better outcome for everyone. We have the people in this country who are young, ambitious, and looking for opportunities. Canada's career colleges have the training centers and programs to help them succeed. And our business community has the shortage that needs to be filled. It's time to work together to turn these needs into one solution. Politically, we now have a minority parliament in Ottawa. This will require a renewed commitment by all stakeholders to build bridges and to collaborate. In the coming years, working across party lines, finding common interests, and building coalitions will be the order of the day. These are areas where CAP and NACC have a great deal of experience. We will need to build on these strengths, bringing represented groups to the table and offering progressive policy ideas that can meet complex and challenging problems. In your discussions over the coming days, I call on everyone here to remember us, the forgotten people, who have been left out of our national conversation so far, excuse me, and invite them into your schools, but also in your workplace, your board of directors, and your political coalitions. I wish your members a very positive, productive, and a rewarding assembly this weekend. Merci beaucoup. Miigwech. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur Bertrand. NACC looks forward to collaborating with CAP absolutely to help fill those education and training needs. Do we have any questions for Monsieur Bertrand? I don't know.
There it is there.
National, can you talk about your partnership with Human Resources Skills Development Canada? My understanding is it's about a $16 million envelope with regards to funding. How much of that does CAP actually get? Is it broken down to the various segments, or?
It's this is where I rely on Randy is usually here with me. He's the person in charge. But I think CAP is one of we signed I believe it's a 10-year agreement. And it's close to $2 million a year. The government will not do that with every organization. You have to have a proven record, and CAP has been working a number of years with the federal government, and we've proven ourselves, and that's why they were in favor of signing a long-term agreement like that. But we see the amount of work that has been done in the past and what's coming in the future, and it's a win-win situation. CAP is a service provider, and a few of our PTOs, our provincial members, are also holders and the Maritimes, if you take, for instance, PEI, Nova Scotia, they have their own, but CAP does Ontario, Quebec, and most out west, and like I've said before, they have seen the good work that is done, and that's why they keep renewing our agreement.
I was just wondering if there's a way to get the contact list of who you would talk to or that.
Just
Like
we can, you can see me or Adnan over there, or just check our website. All our PTOs are all on there with the contact numbers and everything. Yes, sir.
10 years from when to when? You said 10 years contract.
Yes.
Starting from when?
It was last year.
Last year.
Last year. We had a 5-year agreement, and last year when they started negotiating, they came to see me and they were ready for a 10-year. So I said, yeah, let's go for it.
You said $2 million per year?
Per year, yes.
So it will be divided among the provinces? All the provinces?
No. No, it's strictly for CAP, the national organization, but all the other, our provincial PTOs, the ones that do have agreements with the federal government, they have their own. It's not as high. It's not $2 million, but it's I believe it's close to $1 million each. I could be wrong on that.
Other questions? All right. Merci beaucoup.